Welcome to Whiskey Wednesday, revenue party people.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? Good? Kathy, Roberto?
Amazing. Happy to be here.
Great.
Love it, love it. So, as you know, this is Whiskey Wednesday. Let's start off with just introducing our guest, Jessie. Want to start it off?
Let's do it.
Nice.
We've got Kathy Guillory with us tonight on Whiskey Wednesday, and I would suggest that everybody go and search her on LinkedIn right now. That's Kathy, Kathy, Guillory, Guillory, strategic marketing executive with broad enterprise-wide experience and perspective. So you can read all about her on her LinkedIn page, but so happy to have her here tonight to defend the marketing side of the conversation.
Ooh, you're trying to say these be fighting words, Jessie? What's up, yo?
Oh, that's bananas.
Defending, like we're trying to be on the offense or something?
Oh, no, actually, marketing is the offense.
Okay.
So we are always on offense.
Okay. I'll introduce my guest, if that's how you want to play it. I got my boy Roberto Carrero with us. He is a vet when it comes to sales professionalism. He hails from outreach and now works with Sapper Consulting, which actually specializes in outreach, the platform itself, to help his enterprise clients. So today we've got 4 topics. Jessie, why don't you start with 2? I'll go with the last 2, and then we'll jump in immediately into the first. But before we do that, obviously, I got to have a public service announcement, time mofos. So as you know, there is Whiskey Wednesday in the name of the show, but we do not promote the use of alcohol on any level. If you do decide to drink alcohol, please do so responsibly and do not drink and drive. You can choose to drink anything you want on the show. It could be water, coffee, juice, etc. All we ask is that you have fun and, again, drink very responsibly. Jessie, want to start off with the first 2?
Yeah, let's do it. So real quick preview before we really dive into these. So first topic tonight is going to be, are relationships dying in sales? And so we get to hear from our sales side on this topic. We'll let you guys lead this one. 2, how to avoid common startup sales and marketing alignment mistakes. So whoever wants to start this one off, we'll get into it.
Yeah. And we've got our 3rd is fractional sales, the future. And then our 4th. This one I'm actually very excited for. Oh, what happened?
Fighting over it on StreamYard.
What to consider when building an awesome marketing team. So I won't lie. This is a subject I want to know more about because I understand more of the sales aspect and how to build a sales team, but it's interesting to kind of see what like the dynamic is and how it compares to the sales side of things. So why don't we jump into the first? Jessie, kick us off and let's just get right into it.
Absolutely. And of course, at the end of the show, we'll be getting into that guru of the week. So stay tuned. Are relationships dying in sales? Let's hop into this one. Eddy, you want to start us off?
I'm going to let my boy Roberto start with this one. I know this is so before we get into it, this has been a hot topic going on for a couple of weeks now on LinkedIn and other platforms. People are talking about value and impact over relationships. I want to know, coming from somebody who's been in the game and outreach for so long, what do you think, Roberto? Being somebody that's done a lot of outbound and also worked in the inbound space, what are your thoughts? And then we'll just move it through kind of chronologically or counter chronologically.
This is an interesting question. Eddy, I want to clarify, like, what does this mean? Tell me what relationships dying in sales means.
So what's been said lately is clients are looking more to receive value and impact from the salespeople they're working with. They're not necessarily looking to be wined and dined. All that whole building long-term relationship doesn't necessarily matter as much as it used to in the past. So when you thought about your kind of novel salespeople, they would go out and meet, let's say, the clients either in their office or take them out to dinners, take them out golfing. We're in more of a technological age where people are actually dealing more in Zoom conversations, but things are a lot faster paced. So there's some of these gurus out there that are saying the old way is slowly dying. People want impact. They want value. They want immediate value, instant gratification. They don't care about the rest, all that fluff that comes in between. So this is why this topic was resonating with a lot of people. And I thought we could cover that tonight.
Yeah. And Forgive me if my internet cuts out a little bit. You'll have to jump in if it does. But here's my take on that. My take is that might be true in SMB sales, right? In my take, I think that people that are more in SMB sales want that more transactional like role, right?
Yeah.
In the enterprise space, you have to be closer than ever to get a deal. There is more scrutiny than ever on $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 deals. Procurement cycles are so much longer than they were before. So again, like I think in the SMB side, people just want things quicker. But on the enterprise side, you got to be on your game more than you've ever been before. So I think it's true in some capacities, but I think it's very wrong in other capacities.
Well said. I've heard the same thing when it comes to the enterprise side. A lot of people would tell me mid-market, small business, enterprise, because you're consistently talking to the same individuals. But before I get to my side, Jessie, what do you think? You've been on the sales side and being on the marketing side now. How do you view this?
Oh, relationships, I think, overall at a high level drive sales. The way I've seen it, some of the highest performing salespeople are people who are able to build relationships. They'll know, their customer's dog's name and like enjoy talking about their customer. I know that the challenger sale and the person who can really get the value prop across is really the one who's going to succeed at the end of the day. But from what I've found, the relationship builder is the one who can, follow through with a lot of those sales as well.
Kathy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the true people who are going to succeed long-term are the ones who can build the long-term relationships and just grow and expand the accounts and, bring other people into the fold, right? As the sales team grows, kind of help, I would say not infiltrate, but help build relationships across the entire organization, right? So it's not just like that transactional one person leaves and the whole team flounders, which I think is really important as well to think about, right? That you kind of have multiple, you have relationships on multiple levels within the target organization, especially at the enterprise level.
I think you're onto something. So this is a good question for everybody. Now, one thought that I had when I started hearing more about this is when you said the word transactional. So let's kind of break that down. Transactional being, let's say, a one-off, for example. You go into the conversation, the idea is that you want to sell something, and then from that point on, they may not need any maintenance, for example. Well, let's look at it from the other side of the coin. What Roberto was saying at the enterprise level, right? You do need to put more attention because these are larger deals. Now, what happens when you need to do cross-selling or upselling? This is where relationships do actually matter. Asking questions like, what is your dog's name or what are your kids' names? One of my favorite things that's underutilized is asking people in the inception, what's their favorite way of communicating? Not a lot of salespeople take the time to ask, what's the preferred way of you communicating, right? Because if you're not meeting them in the channels they want to be met in, already right there, you're not catering to their need, right? And that's that small portion of the relationship building. Then get into the more nitty gritty and granular stuff. But my question for you is, to all of you and both of you specifically, can you see that translating, let's say the cross and upsell realm, going into more mid-market and small business and moving away from the transactional?
Eddie, here's my take on it. I don't think that building a relationship is necessarily asking someone about their dog or their wife or their kids, although it can be, right? For me, building a relationship is just like being a good salesperson, right? Like if your customer asks you for something, get it to them on time. If you need your help doing something, help them. Here's a good example. So like I was a rep at Outreach, I closed hundreds of deals there, right? But there were times where customers would ask me to do a training for them, right? I don't get paid for that, right? But I would help them out anyways. And in doing that and like going above and beyond for them, we built a relationship. So when it was time for me to expand the account or get introduced to somebody else, like they were there for me too. So, I didn't ask about their dog or their kids, although I could have, but it's more so like just being a good person, I think is how you build a relationship.
Well said. Well said.
Really well said.
Kathy, what do you think?
I think asking questions is critical, right? So I think that's probably the best, or I would say if I were building a sales team, which I haven't done yet, so, focus group of one, right? It would be hire people who are curious. Someone comes in and says, I want X, ask questions, right? Don't just be like an order taker and say, hey, here you go, here's X. Yes, fill the immediate need, but also ask those questions to really uncover what they really want, because sometimes they come in wanting X, but what they really want is XYZ, right? So really just kind of that curiosity, I think, is what can drive that relationship, right? And that's how you can become a better human too, right? Because I'm sure if you didn't ask the right questions, Roberto, you wouldn't know that they needed the training, right? I think the curiosity part is really critical here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jessie, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I think this goes back to like, yes, definitely the salesperson who can get across the value prop. And, I think also like making sure, to Kathy's point, you're asking a lot of questions. So you don't just close that first deal, but they actually renew. So you're getting someone that's not just going to sign up once, but they're going to keep signing up and coming back. And so, getting across value prop, but then, like I think even in the Challenger Seller book, remind me, it's been a while since I've read it, like they kind of rank it that way. Like you have the Challenger Seller, you're getting across the value prop, and then you have the relationship builder, you're like following after that. So I don't think relationships are dying in sales. I think the dog example, I don't know, is that a good example? Is that a bad example?
No, I wouldn't say the dog, but let's just say, so let's look at it this way. Think about not the dog, but like, let's say the kids. Yeah. If somebody has kids and family is important to them, right? You attach, let's say, a value to that label. Then eventually during the deal, what you could do is go back to that label and utilize that in conversation. Like, I know that family is important to you, and this is a tool that could free up more time so that you can spend time with your family. So by creating a label around it, this gives you a way to enter that conversation. So that's what I mean when I say you can go granularly and use that as you're building the relationship further. You give back time to the people you work with. So this way now, if they see that you're working in their best interest, in turn, they're going to favor you into the sale or into the long-term process.
Help people.
Yeah, that's all to help them in their best interest, as we said. The dog thing, I know that was a little far-fetched, but the association of
I'm thinking of someone in particular. I'll throw her out there, Tasha Hilton. Like, she's an awesome salesperson, and she's someone I remember just like, it was like, man, that she just had a really good rapport with her customers. And so they just like, probably because she would do everything to like help them solve their problem. Like she was their advocate, so that's just a real story. She knew the person's dog's name, and I'm like, how do you know that her dog's name is like,
it has to be.
You could use the other dog example too with the kids. Like, I want to free up more of your time to walk your dog, but you know what I mean? But the idea here is to create that label around something that's important to them. So that way you can associate it in the future to give that back. So that freedom and that time is something they could utilize. Because again, it kind of goes back to this, the money doesn't create happiness, but it does give you a little bit more freedom. So we're all in the world of, think about even the technological space, right? All these tools are made to facilitate and create efficiency in your life to give you more time back. So when you're selling something like time, it's important to a lot of people. So that's what, attaching that label sometimes makes a lot of sense as you're progressively moving forward in the relationship building process.
100%. We don't know who you are, anonymous LinkedIn user. We'll have to go into LinkedIn and check it out.
Any other comments on this subject? Anybody want to throw a little something there before we move on to the next one?
Let's cut the meetings out. Oh.
Ooh, cut the meetings out.
I like that idea. You know what? Efficient teams, they don't sit on the phone a lot. Talking to each other.
Zach used to carry dog treats when he was in the field. That's awesome.
Text me, bro.
All right. So any other comments before we move on to the next subject?
I have one little comment
in
closing on the topic. So when you're talking about getting, to the personal side of it, it has to be genuine too, right? It has to be like authentic, and it has to be part of the conversation. You can't just start with like, oh, what's your dog's name? Or, what do your kids do for fun or whatever? It has to be authentic, because I feel like if it's not, the person on the receiving end is just going to feel grimy, right? It feels impersonal, and you can usually see right through that. So all about that personal aspect, as long as it's genuine and authentic.
That's exactly what I would say.
Yeah, so here's a good gateway into that conversation. What are your thoughts? I've said in the past, if I've ever helped anybody or coached, the best way to try to get personal information is usually closer to the end of the week when you're kind of diving into that, what's the weekend looking like for you? Because most people, as they get into the Thursday, Fridays, even themselves in conversation, they're kind of antsy to get the weekend started. The best time I've ever gotten the most crucial information is Thursdays and Fridays, because then I'm always looking to say something like, what's the weekend looking like for you? And then they'll bring up the personal aspect and I'll dive into that and then take that data into my CRM, and then I'll plug it back into conversation the following week or the week after. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's solid for follow-up. Like have a next touch point built in there. You can definitely mention that maybe on the first line of the email. It kind of removes that salesiness out of it. What I was going to say is like, don't hinge your deal on like this dog thing or like this piece, right? Like I wouldn't attach like the value or ROI to like getting time back to like go spend it with your dog, right? Like when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking of breaking the ice in a follow-up email. It's a conversation starter before the call, but just make sure that it's genuine.
Well said.
Should we move on to the next topic?
Heck yeah.
All right. Okay, I'm going to pull it up. How to avoid common startup sales and marketing alignment mistakes. Okay.
So this is for both. We actually had a combination of both of you contribute to this topic. So whoever would like to start, we're just going to open up the floor and I'm just going to step away and learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is a big one. It's a big one. I think it's really, really common. So especially early in startups, just in my experience, right, consulting and working with them, is they are, the teams are very lean, right? So you might have one salesperson, one or two salespeople. You might have one-ish marketing person or a fractional marketing person. And they're kind of operating in silos, right? So marketing does their own thing, sales does their own thing. When something doesn't go well, they're kind of in their different camps throwing blame back and forth at each other. And there's sort of this animosity of like, oh, well, we brought in these leads. Oh, well, these aren't the right ones, right? So I think getting sales and marketing on the same page early on is really, really important. What I've recommended before, looking at organizations from the outside and from the inside, the stage is having shared KPIs, right? So having like one or two slides that you put together and you have all of the KPIs, the top of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel, and you're reviewing them weekly as a team. And you have some of your SLAs out there too, right? So, and QL comes in at this stage. This is what the account looks like. Yes, we're going to take it over. We'll follow up within 24, 36, 48 hours, whatever those are. So I think reestablishing that regularly and really sharing those goals, like having that shared ownership of this is the full funnel. Yes, this is where the handoff is, but we're all kind of in this together, I think is really critical up front. I would love to hear Roberto's perspective on this from the sales side as well.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts. My first take was like, you're not going to avoid the mistakes. They're probably going to happen anyways, but there's some considerations to think about. Similar thoughts though, like I think you should have a shared North Star. Like if marketing only cares about impressions, obviously sales doesn't. Sales obviously just cares about leads, right? So like marketing should care about leads too. So in my mind, there should be like some level of accountability, right? Meaning like if marketing is responsible for driving pipeline, like call that out. If sales is responsible for driving pipeline, like clearly they are, like list that down, right? But then sales should be responsible for a conversion rate, right? That way sales can't say like marketing's not giving me enough pipeline, and marketing can't say, well, sales isn't closing enough.
Well, to that point, I think marketing needs to focus on finding leads that can convert. And if you're getting a bunch of leads, but they're not converting, then like, what's the point? And, a lot of the times I think that marketers feel like they get on the marketing hamster wheel to do things like ebooks to like bring in a whole bunch of leads that then just like wanted to read your ebook. They didn't really want to close, So I think there still has to be alignment in terms of like, yeah, the goal is revenue, and marketing. You need to bring in people that hopefully will not just sign up once, but continue to renew.
I agree 100%. This is like just my take. I could be like entirely wrong. I don't think ebooks are great leads. Like,
not.
That's just my take. I don't know.
Duh.
Those are great leads for
Oh,
sales.
come on. Stop reading your ebooks. Like, give people your best content to read. Like, you want eyeballs on it, right? You put all that money and effort into it. Like, let people read it.
And people
So-
don't want to be called
Yes.
after they download an ebook, right? Like, they don't want that.
Yes.
Just give it to them for free.
So, good
Yeah.
question for both of you. For the places that you've worked at, working currently or worked at before, have you found there's been difficulties in communication more often than not between both divisions?
Kathy, you want to?
Yeah, it starts off that way, you know, and usually like in a really small organization where it's either founder led or, you know, there's someone doing sales, but it's not their full-time job, or they're transitioning to it being their full-time job. They get busy, right? So lots of different hats to wear. Letting the other side of the camp know what's going on isn't always a priority. So I think getting alignment early and getting those, you know, those meetings scheduled, right, where you're talking about the shared KPIs. I agree with you about that North Star, right? So agreeing on sort of what is the most important metric that we're really tracking towards, and getting very clear definition of what that means, right? So because when you say leads, you may think of XYZ and I may think of something completely different. So I think getting those shared definitions is really, really important. And regularly talking, right? Because I think it's very obvious to the organization if you're not. You can feel that friction, I think, throughout.
Good point. Roberto, what do you think?
I think I got pretty lucky at outreach, if I'm being honest. You know, working at a sales engagement platform, like all we wanted to do was generate leads using our own platform, right? The reason I say I'm lucky is because we had pretty open lines of communication with marketing. And I think like that's one thing that'll get you to the next level as an organization. So like for us, we would have like monthly stand-up meetings with the marketing team, right? And they would tell us like, what are the new initiatives that are coming out? They'll get feedback from the sales team, like, are these leads trash? Are they good? So like that's how you can get to like reaching that level of communication. Just like have a standing meeting, talk through things, get feedback, make changes. So I think I got pretty lucky with an awesome team. I've seen a lot of things out there though, which are not.
I can definitely tell you it's not like that for a lot of people. Two great examples.
Right.
So I've worked in two different scenarios, one of them being where I worked with a team that was very transparent and one that was not at all. So one organization where the VP of sales would say, don't worry about marketing. We don't even have communication with them, not on Slack, not anywhere. But leads would come in from different campaigns. It wasn't really focused on one thing. So as you're talking about your goals, there's different campaigns going on. Things are coming in, but we have no idea what the conversation's truly being driven towards. And then there's the other side where I worked with a company where they clearly tell you have one campaign, a period of time. This is what we want to drive conversation towards, and everybody's talking. And I think communication, as we know, this is quite universal, needs to be established more often than not. So again, just two different experiences, but the impact is just unbelievable between each one. One of them, you're not talking, you don't know what to do, and then they don't convert properly because you don't have the right info. The other one, they tell you straight up, this is what we're trying to do. Go out there, crush. And you have everything you need, all the tools. So when you go to market and you're talking to your prospects and clients, you're equipped to have those conversations. And that's what's nice, which is why I wanted to ask you both that question, because I've seen many people and companies that I've spoken to, they're not even speaking sometimes. It's just, we do us, you do you. Thank you very much.
So did you guys see the question from Sarah Hanks? She asked, where does product management fit into marketing/sales alignment? What do you think?
Love it. It is a good one. So in my experience, it fits in marketing, but has a dotted line to sales. That I've seen it in a couple of different formulas, but that seems to work pretty well because ultimately the sales feedback is going to drive some of the product features, right? Some of the roadmaps, some of the improvements, some of the friction points. So that feedback is really, really important. But I'm a pretty, textbook marketer, and I think product does, at the end of the day, sit in marketing because it needs to align with the messaging, the positioning, the pricing, and all the other components that support it. So if product is on its own, then it can become its own silo, right? And then you have sales, product, marketing, and then you're kind of trying to align across all three, and that can cause even more confusion. I would love to hear what Roberto has to say.
No, I think Kathy, I think you hit it. I think that was accurate. I think that's strong. Yeah, the only thing I would add, like to continue to your point, is like get sales feedback. Like sales
Yeah,
people are
Exactly.
on the ground. They know what's working. They know what's not working. So
Mhm.
I think that's just like another piece to make sure that like communication is open with the sales team. I know we promise customers a lot of things, but as long as like our input is heard, happy for it to sit in marketing.
Yeah, we spoke
Yeah.
about that before,
And it-
actually, in the past. That's a great point, Roberto. We
you have
spoke about that in another episode about how we should have a way where salespeople are truly bringing data back to marketing. But again, it's also where marketing is bringing data back to salespeople, and having that constant flow of information work for both divisions, so that way they can embellish in it and truly continue to close and bring revenue.
Mhm. And one of my favorite things to do is listen to gong calls, or just like skim through the recordings, conversations that salespeople are actually having live in the field, because you can hear some of those questions, right? You can hear some of those objections. You can hear some of the pain points, and it's just a really good way to kind of get inside the ICP's head, right? Like, what are they talking about? So if something comes up and it's a theme, then you create content around it, right? That becomes part of your messaging. I think
Yeah.
you get a lot of insights in those sales conversations.
It's funny that you both bring that. That's another thing that we spoke about something that's recurring. That's when it starts building a pattern in those gone calls, take that data back and tell them this is a pain point, or this is a specific issue, or something that people are looking for us to do. Go build within your product, bring that to marketing, bring that to your product team, and then immediately go into that. But of course, it has to have a pattern. It has to be recurring enough, so that way, of course, the team can go into building mode or whatnot.
Here's one thing on that. As a salesperson, you've got to take action on that, right? Because that's not in your job description. Like, it's not really in your job description to say like, hey, I think we should improve the product. But like when I was a rep, I did that anyways. Like, I was getting on calls with the product team. I'm like, hey, like, I need this. Like, I need you to make this because we will sell more.
Yeah.
And eventually some of the ideas that I had like actually showed up in the product, which was awesome. It was like months down the line, years down the line, but
Yeah.
Kind of adds like another notch in your tool belt, right? Like, gives you more visibility in the company, gives you like more pride in it, and just like overall it's helpful. But you've got to take that action to do it.
Good point. Yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add. You've all said a lot of really great stuff. One thing I will say though is you were talking about gong calls, and I would go a step further and say try to sit on some sales calls live. And like even the other day, I'm sick, sorry if you can't tell, but like just being a fly on the wall on some Zoom calls, and then like, as things come up, you can think of questions, message the team, I don't know, it's just a different vibe when you can see it and actually listen to it. Because sometimes I feel like if it's gong and it's a recording, I'll be doing something else, and I'm like, but when it's live and these are like real questions coming from like real potential customers, I'm like, ooh, tell me more. So I think that it's important for companies to really consider not only inviting your marketing team onto your sales calls, but really encouraging it as well.
Yep. And at the very least, if you don't have the time to sit on live calls or review, gone transcripts, talk to the salespeople, right? Like, just talk to them. Be like, hey, what are you hearing? Because they have their eyes and ears on the customers, and they can give you that feedback, even if it's just anecdotally. So I agree. Like, ideally, you sit in live, right? Second best case scenario, you listen to recordings afterwards. But if you can't make it to those two, at least talk to them.
I was fortunate to have that actually. I had somebody in the content writing team come on to 2 or 3 of my Zoom calls in the past. They loved it.
Awesome.
They truly loved it. They were like, I didn't know this person's name is Max, great guy. He literally told me after the call, like, man, I didn't know this is what they're talking about. I'm like, yeah, this is the pain that we're going through. He's like, why aren't I doing content on this? I'm like, don't ask me, talk to marketing. But in reality, when he's there and he's looking at this and he's saying, like, should we be talking about this stuff? Is that what we should be posting about or building content around? And I tell him, well, this is kind of universally known in the sales division, but we're not necessarily taking that data and putting it back into a Slack channel. We're just kind of verbally talking about it in our monthly stand-ups, let's say, or monthly, not the stand-up, but the end of the month meeting. Sorry.
I got one more thing on this. I think listening to the gong calls is great, but I ran this play at Outreach many times because a lot of marketers bought outreach. So we would work with like VPs of marketing, directors of marketing. Oftentimes I would literally invite our marketing team to a live call with a customer. And like it always went well because marketing speaks to marketing from the other company. And that's the way you build a really strong relationship and like build confidence. So if you sell to marketing, try to invite a marketer from your team to that call. And I think it'll be pretty strong.
That's gold.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
That's gold.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I say that, because we sell to marketing and I'm a marketer. So I do think that like there is just that like special vibe there a little bit.
Yep. And I'm thinking as a marketer, so if someone were to bring someone from their marketing team into a sales call, totally, like you have my attention because they're speaking my language.
Exactly. They speak the same language. And and you have end goals in mind that are similar. And I think that's the same thing when you're working salesperson to salesperson. You know what their end goal is, right? You start from pipeline to close one. You understand the jargon, and great point. That was a great point.
And Sarah Hanks, I don't know if you guys saw it. She was talking about inviting the software developers to meet with the end users versus relying on the product owner.
That's a great point.
Hey, yes, developers can come on a call. Like, let's go.
I mean, if they're willing, I've had a scenario where we tried to invite one of them and they didn't want to because again, but that's a personality thing. I'm not saying all developers are like that. I've actually worked with a very extrovert developer, and again, it depends on the personality, but that's a great point also.
Totally. Well, should we move on to that third topic?
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, take it away, sales. Eddy.
So, this is a topic that we covered 2 weeks ago, speaking about the SDR, fractional SDRs. But in that conversation, this came up. If, let's say, we would do fractional AEs. So what I wanted to know is fractional sales going to be the future, especially now that we're seeing more of these outsourcing, shops for SDRs, and they're starting to see a little bit more of the fractional AEs out there. So I'll start with you, Roberto, and let's just make our way through.
Here's the thing about fractional sales. I think that it is, again, like similar to the question you asked before, I think this is relevant in like the lower segments, right? You're going to see a lot more smaller companies try and roll out like fractional sales because they don't want to hire people full time. But I think like as you go up market, you're not really going to see that as much. So yes, I think you'll see it, but only in like the lower segments.
Totally.
Kathy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's hard to have that continuity of service, right? By the time you start talking to enterprise level customers, they expect to just be able to call you, right? With some of those questions. And I think long term, your cross sell and your retention numbers are really going to suffer as well because you don't have that sort of consistent owner.
So Chris Bogue is saying that fractional sales is already the reality, and most sales reps don't last very long. So this is a topic we covered like in the beginning of Whiskey Wednesday about what the turnover rate is for most salespeople within, let's say, for example, SaaS, right? Yes, there is a large turnover rate, and maybe there are reasons why some of these companies are commencing these fractional sales, call them outfits. Now, again, the reason I wanted to look into this topic more was more on the account executive side, because we do know there are already tons of different outfits that are doing SDR, fractionalized or call them outsource SDR. But the real question here is, do both of you see the future looking like there could be the same thing with the SDR realm in the AE realm, where they're going to have these outfits to close deals instead of just trying to incept or create or build pipelines?
So you're saying that companies will be hiring AEs just to close deals?
Exactly. Can you both see that happening in the future?
I mean, yes and no. I think, again, like if this is more so like transactional business and you need more volume and more headcount, then I think that's relevant. But if you're working bigger strategic deals, you're not going to hire somebody full time to do that, in my opinion. Like you want to keep that in-house. But that's just my take on it.
No, it's great. This is, for me, a more informative session. I want to know more about it and what your thoughts are, because it was kind of a very kind of in the air question before, and we didn't really structure it, but it's good that you're both here to answer.
Absolutely. And what I would add to that conversation, and it's kind of what I said last week still too, is I think there is a value in it. I think there are people who come with the skills and maybe even already the relationship with the marketer, that rapport that you'll have with maybe a fractional salesperson, whatever, outsourced salesperson, from previous experiences. And I don't think that's something that should be looked down upon, because communication is really key. So if you already know, like, I want this tool, this tool, and this tool, and I just need someone to like do it for me, and then send me X, Y, and Z. And I already have this relationship with these people that I can communicate well with, then like, why not? I don't know.
So Sarah Hanks has a question. How are fractional sales reps compensated typically? So I mentioned this 2 weeks ago. So I've actually done fractional work for a company where I actually closed a deal. The way that I structured it in the past was just percentage of the deal. That's all it really was. There was no bonus structure. There was no salary around it. When I signed the contract, it was mainly just, this is a percentage based on the volume of the deal. So it could be different for other companies. I don't know what it is specifically, so I can't answer the question. I could just tell you what I have done in my own experience. But I can see that because I've seen many conversations on LinkedIn about these 100% sales or 100% commission driven salespeople that works privately with companies. So maybe that could be it, maybe not. I don't know. But this is why I wanted to bring this conversation up, to get first and foremost our guests' opinions and then everybody in the audience, so that way we can jam through it.
Yeah, Eddie, here's what I think. I think that, yes, I think this could be a thing for transactional sales, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I think we'll end up seeing more. I think there are a lot of reps out there that are, were former SDRs, were former AEs that moved up to management. And they're going to be moving more into like consulting roles for companies, which they already are. Many people are, right? Mm-hmm. And these companies can get people to the point they want to be faster in terms of like coaching them on certain sales skills, in terms of like training them on certain platforms and things that they want to do. And I think we'll continue to see that more often, more so than like hiring a fractional salesperson. I think you'll end up seeing more consultants coming out and still keeping like their full-time jobs and what they're doing, but like renting out their time, like in buckets of 2, 4, 5 hours a month to companies, more so than training and development.
That's exactly what I was doing.
I was just going to jump in while you were talking, Roberto, and see if you could answer Jesse's question. If they do the toughest job in the company, would they be paid on equity or commission?
I mean, I'm assuming he's talking about like the fractional salesperson. And I'm assuming that would be like on commission. Like,
yeah, because equity would be long-term. So, I mean, what's the point of giving somebody equity in the company if they're just doing transactional work? That would be just my rebuttal to that. But if it's somebody that they're looking to bring on fractionally long-term, like, right, maybe just paid by commission for an extended period of time, let's say a year or 2 years, maybe there could be something equity. But again, depends on the company, depends on the individual and what they want.
Yeah, I mean, the equity play is, a reason why you would join an established company. Right?
Yeah. And then at that point, why not just join the company as an employee and be employed by the company?
Right. 100%.
Yeah. It's cool subject. Right. I like that. I'm with Roberto, so let's read that one out. So I'm with Roberto, but has anyone considered this? The solopreneurs out there doing their thing, but might pick up fractional work with their strategic partner as it comes up organically. Transactionally only. I see it as a whole movement for salespeople. Pay me commish. I like that. Good one, Austin. I like that. Pay me my money. No, it's a good point.
I see that point, right? Like Austin's talking about, let's say a company hires me to do consulting for them, and they get to a point where they have too much work. I need you to like help me close these deals. I can see that being a thing, and yes, pay me commission or commish.
Exactly what it is, and that's going back to what I was saying earlier. I was at first not hired to close a deal; I was hired to consult. From that point, it turned into closing the deal. And I think that Roberto, you said that perfectly well before about how people are being brought on as consultants, and then it could translate into that. I don't think it's going to be potentially like a sweatshop for AEs in any way. I just don't think it makes sense unless it's purely transactional. But then how are the end users going to react to that when you're just potentially meeting one person one day and then the next, and there's no real communication in between, right? There's no real relevance between the data. So.
Yeah, for AEs, it doesn't really land as well, in my opinion. For SDRs, it makes sense. Like you need short-term pipeline generation. For AEs, you probably want those in-house, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anything else we'd like to cover before we move on, or?
We're good there.
This is a super informative session. One of the best in my opinion. Okay, so let's get on to the next topic. Jessie, you want to get us in there? Oh, you're on mute. Why are you on mute? Why are you on mute, Park?
I was coughing because yes, I have COVID. I hate it.
Everybody put your mask on. Put your mask on.
I have my
I love you, Jess. We still
yes.
love you.
So I'm gonna go on mute anytime I have to cough. So sorry about that. What to consider though on number 4 when building an awesome marketing team. So Kathy, do you think you could take us away on this topic?
I think so. How much time do we have? So
we
this
got time.
is a really this is a really interesting topic. Over the last 6 months or so, I've had so many conversations with founders and really scale ups as they're trying to grow their marketing teams, and how to really scale, right? When do you hire that first marketing person? Who does that person need to be? From personal experience and just talking to so many people and seeing this is what people often do is they hire a marketing leader as their first hire, right? They hire like a VP or a CMO, and it is someone who has not actually done the work in recent years. It's someone who comes from a bigger company and has been directing the work for a while. And that has its own challenges, right? While that person can develop a great plan and a great strategy, they are also going to be responsible for executing on that, which is really difficult if they haven't done it in a while. So what I recommended in the past is to come up with someone either internally or externally who owns the marketing strategy. So if you have a co-founder or an advisor or someone who sort of understands what they're talking about from a marketing perspective to develop that plan, and then hire someone who is doing the tactical work. That way your ROI, your short-term ROI can still stay really high. So you have someone who's, writing the content, updating the website, doing social, hosting webinars, really doing all of those moving pieces that are going to get you the immediate ROI on your marketing efforts versus that big picture strategy planner thinker who's going to cost you a lot more and really whose skills at that early stage you're not utilizing fully. Would love to hear sort of inputs from the team, kind of how they've seen this play out. But I think during those really early days, you're going to get just a better return on someone who's doing the work.
Absolutely. So I guess I'll hop in there as the marketer. So when, yes, you do need to know, you need a marketer. It depends on the company, of course, right? And like at any stage, but like if you're starting off with that first marketer, you're going to need a generalist, somebody who can get their hands dirty on the website, can get their hands dirty on data integrations, can get their hands dirty on content and quality content, not just like, you don't have to mass produce, just come up with good quality content. But yeah, I think it's important that you do have someone in the early days, especially that can get their hands dirty. But I do think they need to be able to juggle that strategy side, because if you're a startup, you need to know, what are those goals? How am I going to bring in revenue? What is the ICP? Like all of these things need to be considered. And also, like, I'm all for outsourcing, especially in the beginning, and getting a high value for low expense, and moving fast, testing a lot, seeing what works, what's getting you to your goal fastest. I think a lot of teams do get caught up on like lead gen. I think I mentioned this earlier, and bringing in leads that aren't closing. But I think we need to spend more time researching those ones that are closing, that do look like those other customers we want to go find, and using our own first-party customer data to go find more customers like the ones that look like ours. So we need, people who can really get their hands dirty with data. Data is extremely important, and especially moving into the future. But yeah, like I think all of these things are important. You know, if you have the funding to go hire a bunch of full-time people, like, I wouldn't stop you. I think you get, you know, it depends. You know, what stage you are, but like early on, typically, like, you need that generalist marketer that can get their hands dirty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, and then I think content, a writer, like a really good content writer is critical as well, because content is such an overlooked piece, right? And not everyone has a knack for it. So I think getting someone who understands your product, who can partner with sales, and who also can just translate some of these very, very technical terms, right, to your ICP is going to be critical.
Oh man,
I'm just listening.
Same here. Salespeople are quiet on this one.
I've never.
Well, like, go ahead. Like, I'd be curious to hear, like, from a salesperson's perspective, if you had to guess, like, okay, say you're Series A, you're just getting ready to like build a marketing team. Now you're like, for some reason, put in the position to like make the decision of what you're going to do. You're B2B SaaS. From a sales perspective, who's your first hire?
You want me to, Roberto?
Go ahead. This is all you.
Honestly, I only say this because I see them, like, the immense value in social. The one thing I'd want to go towards immediately is social. Like, I want to take somebody who was really strong in content, because I know that's what's driving right now. It's a driving force for relationships. Like we said before, it's also driving relationships for building pipelines. Some of the older ways are not necessarily dissipating. They're not going away. You're still going to get results from it, but not the same way that we're seeing with some of these social channels. So the first thing I would look for is get somebody who's good at content writing, somebody who's good at some of the graphic stuff, so that when you're doing posts, let's say that require graphics, and again, I'm speaking out of my ass here, but just based on what I would do myself and what I would want, that would be those two things. Someone who's good in graphics and content, and just really drive towards social. And then from there, of course, as you get bigger, maybe go towards other channels and different avenues. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, completely wrong. This is just me.
Yeah.
I'm with you as a salesperson that's never done this before, so like I'll take a crack at it as well. If I had the ability to do this and I was going to do this, I would hire a VP of marketing who was clear and intentional about empowering the sales team to post on LinkedIn and build their own brands.
Good. That's a
I'm
great point,
all
actually.
for that. Great answer. Marketing.
Yes.
Like, who are all the marketers on LinkedIn? Why do I always see like mostly salespeople? But
Yeah.
maybe there are some marketers behind those salespeople. I'm all for that. But like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great point. Marketing,
Yes.
support your sales team in getting out content.
So what about that little kind of stigma around, let's say, the marketers that post about the salespeople who are posting content? Has anybody seen that on LinkedIn? I know we've all seen it. Like the marketers who are basically laughing. Or there's one picture. This one kind of hits home for me, because as a salesperson who does put out content, who's made graphics, I've had marketers tell me that they like the graphics I've put out.
Oh,
so
I'm one of those marketers. He's got great marketing skills, y'all.
You do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So just to give you an example, I saw one picture where there was a woman sitting at a table holding a leash on a dog, and basically saying like the marketing team is the woman, and then the dog being the salesperson, like halting them from trying to do something, basically building content. Like, I don't think that's right. I mean, I'm seeing tons of great salespeople out there building really good content, and they're driving business for the companies that they're working for. So to Roberto's point, that we've spoken about, this is an unbelievable point. Having a VP that actually emphasizes and that pushes their sales team to build content. I mean, if they're inclined to do so, and if they want to do so, and they want to write or do graphics, go ahead. I mean, it's a great way to drive business.
I mean, imagine that sales world where you had marketing giving you material that you could customize and make your own to help build your own brand on LinkedIn. That'd be a great world to live in if that was true.
It would be.
I'm gonna keep things secret for now.
So
we have much to talk about in the future.
I wanted to make a simple plug right there that, like, if anybody out there listening needs any support on LinkedIn, reach out to Reveting. Eddy and I are, equipped, ready to help companies with their LinkedIn presence. So just give us a shout.
That was where the secret basically was. So the whole objective, Reveting. I mean, look, Reveting is in that place where now our objective is to look at LinkedIn as the tool of choice. And we are both quite pronounced in it. And I've been doing it for just getting close to a year. And Jessie, I've a little bit more than I have. But if you need support and you are somebody who doesn't necessarily know how to work on your messaging or how to work on your branding, reach out to us. This is why we're here. This is how this channel actually started. So nice shameless plug. I love it. Yeah. So any other comments at all?
Yeah, so I want to kind of advance a little bit, right? So we're talking a lot about sort of startup, but then as you scale and as you grow and as you could add more people, you're really going from this like generalist, right? From these 2 or 3 generalists who are doing everything start to finish to really become kind of specialists in their field, right? So this is when you're hiring your CRM folks, really your demand gen people, right? Who can really own their section of the funnel. This is where I think a lot of people fall down a little bit, right? A lot of marketing leaders fall down a little bit is because they're sort of converting their team from being very, very general to then having their own specialties. And that can trip people up, right? It can be kind of scary to give up ownership of something that you used to do start to finish, and now you only have one piece of it. So it's just, one of those kind of growing pains that you're working through as you grow.
Absolutely.
Well covered. Heard. Definitely heard. I learned that today, actually. Is anybody watching? I know this is completely offside here, but is anybody watching the show The Bear?
No.
Nope.
So really good show on Disney Plus. Actually, my wife was watching, and when somebody's saying something, instead of saying understood, you just say heard. Pretty cool way of just.
Oh yeah, that comes from the restaurant world. You say that all the time.
Heard. I like that. I mean, somebody's speaking to you. You want to make sure you acknowledge. Just heard. It's good.
Heard.
Any other comments? Any other statements? Any other any other words whatsoever on that topic before we move into Guru of the Week?
No, heard.
All right, I like that. Look at that. We're all adapted. I love it.
Curious of this disagreement going on between.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. There's like a little battle in the comments.
I was looking at it. I was kind of hoping they'd keep going. I want to see Jessie and Lydia go at it in the chat.
So let's go in that comment. Let's see what's going on.
86. What is that?
So 86 is Darren McKee. So for those who don't know, the unknown user that's been speaking the majority of the time was actually Darren McKee, who's by the way going to be on the show next week. So I see that there's a disagreement. Let's try to filter through and see what's happening here.
We should just bring them both on the show at some point and let them do it live.
I mean, come on in, guys.
Lydia and Jessie battling it out on live. What does everybody think? Give us some comments. You think it'd be a good idea for this disagreement that's going on to take place live on the show?
Oh, I say yes.
Yeah, I'll second that. It'd be a good live. Fight. She will. We're like in a schoolyard right now. This is awesome.
Oh, man. I was really hoping Karen would show up tonight, but I don't know.
This is great.
So should we get into the Guru of the Week?
The Guru of the Week. Well, let's put up that banner. So getting into it, I know that you have both come to a consensus for the Guru that you have chosen this week. So in honor of that, let me go back. Jessie, I got you. No, don't do it. Stop it. Who is the Guru of the Week that you both have chosen? Usually we do a countdown to 3 and let you both answer it. If you feel like it's not your flavor, you can go ahead and say it separately, however you like. So what do you prefer? Count it down. Bring it. I'll say 3, 2, 1. Just say it together and let's have some fun with it. So 3, 2, 1.
KD Dorsey.
All right. That's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and plug them into.
Everybody plug them into the comments.
We'll get KD here. All right. There you go.
KD.
Done. I'm sure he'll see it, if not tonight, tomorrow or something. Nonetheless. So one thing that I'll have to say after, of course, both of you tell us why you chose him. So I'll let you go first, and then I'll tell you something that I learned from him that I'm actually using today, and I've just learned it last month. Unbelievable hack. So why did we choose KD Dorsey?
Who's going to take this one?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it to both of you.
My internet was kind of cutting up for a second.
Oh,
Here's the thing. I've been following him since I was at SDR, like 3, 4, 5 years ago. I just think he's just like a good person. I think it's like the main thing. He's always out there. He's always adding value. He's always trying to help people. And he's just a true champion for sales reps. So, Katie, all the way.
I love that. Kathy?
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been following him that long. I would say a couple of months. I came across his profile. I think he's just authentic, right? It's all just kind of straight from the heart, right? And it's kind of tried and true advice. It's very actionable and very tactical, which I think is useful, right? So I just like the authenticity.
So I'm in agreement with both of you. I'm definitely in accord. And I definitely want to tell you the hack that I learned from him. I used to do this a lot more before kind of getting junior in sales, a very long time ago, but nonetheless. He mentioned something in one of his more recent videos about creating a checklist and not necessarily winging it when you're going into anything that you're doing. So I remember when I was a lot younger, I used to actually do that. Not scripts, but actual checklists, objectives of things that I was trying to do getting into a situation. And I completely stopped that. And I'll be perfectly honest, a lot of it had to do with ego, right? It's just, you get into this position, you do it for so long, you start thinking to yourself, oh, I know how to deal with this objection. I know how to deal with this situation. I don't have to worry about anything. I've been through this a million times. Until you go back more retrospectively and you say, what if I did build something out based on this meeting, knowing that this could go haywire or this could go in this specific direction? I could have a plan and a framework. And I won't lie, I've been doing it for a month now, and I regret not doing this for the lifetime that I've been doing it. So if you're watching, KD, and if not, you're going to go back. I've tagged you anyways, but thank you for that most recent video. It definitely brought back some really good memories, and it's going to attach itself more often now in any meeting I'm going into. So thanks for that. All right, so everybody knows we have a shit.
What's going on?
So for both of, let's give context. So for both of you with us right now, we have Karen that has joined. If you do not know who Karen is, Karen, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Come on, Eddie. Enough out of you tonight, huh? Listen, I'm pretty upset again, and the last few weeks I have been really mad at this group because I don't think you're supporting me on the mission that I'm on. I just want these SaaS kids to stop calling my personal cell phone. It's terrible. I don't want it to happen anymore. I'm not happy about it. And I've had COVID a little bit like Jessie.
You're already the best.
Nelson's been taking care of me. And I just absolutely can't stand the SaaS kids. They keep calling my mobile phone over and over. And I download ebooks and I attend free webinars. I mean, that's what I do. So I like webinars. I add that to the repertoire, and now I'm getting called triple.
The repertoire? Was that the repertoire?
It was.
Was the repertoire?
I don't know. I'm not sure we speak the same language here, Eddie. Fast, Eddie. Come on. Quick, Eddie.
Oh, shit. I love you, Karen.
Oh my God.
So,
Can I ask Karen a question? Is that a thing? Could I ask Karen a question?
yeah, you can absolutely.
Karen, are you in marketing by any chance?
No, I'm in HR. I've got a huge HR department to run here. We've got trust walls coming up next week. I've got people just losing it. And, I work till about 3:30 in the afternoon. And then I pick up little Johnny. We go to soccer practice. But the SaaS kids are calling me from 4 to 5. They keep asking me about 27 seconds, 5 after 5. And I don't like it. And I want to talk to Brandon Borncini, the seamless guy. He keeps giving my number out. I know it's him. I want to talk to him. I want him to take my personal calls off there. I want my mobile off there. I'm going to submit it to the DNC. Do not call. I don't like it. Stop it, Brandon.
Oh shit.
You got to stop it with that Ferrari stuff too, because I really don't want to be called by these sass kids anymore. It's hurting me. I don't like it. Stop calling me on my personal mobile cell phone number. It bothers
So
me.
that's Karen, everybody.
Angry, and I'm angry.
We're lucky to have her on some episodes that she comes in.
Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, lots of craziness going on over at Karen's, but I would love it. Like, what are your guys' takes to Karen? Like, I don't want to say like set her straight because like I kind of agree with Karen sometimes. So
I like Amy. That's a nice. I don't like those duct tape people either. But the sass kids are way worse. These kids won't stop calling. They got power dialers. They got all-star dialers, VIP President's Club dialers. It's like they showed up in an army. You know, they're going out on the high school football team with a bunch of oranges, eating oranges, trying to pepper up a little bit and call my personal cell phone number. They're all in a room connected and selling Rev Genius Live. I mean, give me a break. What's going on? Stop calling my God.
Oh shit, that's fucking priceless.
Oh, jeez.
No one else would ever do this shit on LinkedIn Live.
Like no one else.
Stop. My mobile number will never change. Little Johnny has it memorized on the soccer field. And I'm in HR, and I get a lot of calls.
I got another question for Karen. What about us connecting with you on LinkedIn and then pitching you immediately after that? Would you be cool with that?
I don't like that either, but I just don't accept a lot of connections. It's these sass kids with the personal mobile cold calling systems. These things, they get sassed up and they just come at you full bore with your mobile. It's like they stole it from the FBI, the phone number, and then you get called hundreds of times, demon dialing and whatever they gotta do. They call it something. 27 seconds. Ebook. Yeah, no thanks. All set. Gotta go. Bye. I mean, please help me. I mean, I have to come on the show every week and tell the kids to stop calling my personal cell phone number. It really drives me friggin' crazy.
All right, so it's that time.
It's hard.
It's that time where we get into the after party. So we have another way that we're going to do this. Normally, in the last 2 weeks, we've just transferred it over into a Google Meet. Depending on the volume of people that are going to jump on, we're going to go back to the way we did it before, where we're going to allow people to come into the live. In this case, we're already 5. So we're going to have 5 more slots open. If we do see that it gets a little overwhelming, we're going to move it into the Google Meet. Last week, we had something like 20 people. So that was a little tough because on this specific show, we can only have up to 10 people. So Jessie, want to just give the link into the
Don't
comment?
give my phone number out, that's for sure.
I'll just like send
I
you.
already have it.
Well, I can send you the link. I know we've got Landon here, so
I like Landon. He's a nice young guy. You know, nice young boy.
There is a nice
He's not
guy.
out there cold calling, is he? I haven't been called by him yet.
I don't know. We're going to have to ask him. You think he'll come into the after party?
Landon, have you ever called my cell phone? I know Nooks has some great ebooks that I'd love to get. I'm a little afraid, though. You guys are part of that Rev Genius Live Dialer product system.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead. So Jessie, I'm going to go ahead and enter. I'm going to copy and paste the link into the comments. What do you think?
okay, go for it. Yeah.
All right, so this is me pasting right now inside the comments for StreamYard. So if you're interested to come to the after party, come on in. If we do see that it's going to get a little overwhelming, we're going to move it over into Google Meet. So I'm going to have a Google Meet open right now.
Please don't call me. That was my phone number.
Come on and meet Karen. Love when people can engage with Karen. She's got a strong POV, point of view. So that's really important in marketing. So hats off to you, Karen.
Hey,
FaceTime.
Karen, are you telling them we don't want to be called by the SAS kids anymore? This is Nelson. You know what I think of SDRs. I had to write a yellow book on it called The Death of Them. This is Karen's husband. Please stop the hell.
Right. We have Darren McKee with us, who's going to be a guest next week on this show.
What's up,
Hey,
Darren?
Darren.
What's up?
So, got to get your opinion, man. You're going to be on next week. What'd you think?
It was good. I wanted to know what I was getting into. I was all good until Karen came on, and I was a little lost there for a second.
I want to download your ebook. You think you can get me a free copy of that thing? I really would like to know what these SaaS pros are learning these days.
SaaS pros. I'll get you one. We don't have one, but I'll send you something.
Okay, so it looks like we definitely have more than 10 people who want to join. So I think as we saw a bunch of people jump right in. So how about this? Everybody on this cool if we move it to a more private setting, going into Google Meet?
Let's do it.
Okay, wonderful. Everybody
I'm
willing to
calling
stay
me,
on?
all right? Don't
Is
ever call
everybody
me
willing to stay
again.
on with
Lose
us?
my number.
Everybody, LinkedIn.
Thanks,
world,
Karen.
Come join us
Thank
on
you.
Google and come
You know I love it, though.
on Whiskey
Nope.
Wednesdays for some more
Yeah.
fun shenanigans. All these cool cats are going to head over to Google Hangout because there's more of us that want to hang out and party. So I'm not
Absolutely.
drinking whiskey tonight. I'm drinking water.
Please take me off your lists, all of you.
Peace out, homies.
So for everybody that's here, the link is in, the comments for, of course, I'm going to say I'm actually adding people as we go. Wow, it's getting quick, fast. All right. So the link
getting
is
quick,
in the
fast.
comments. Here we go. View all. Wow, people are scouring in. I love it. What's up? What's up? What's up? Okay, so we can hop off this one now. So we do want to say thank you to our guests, of course. Kathy's already moved on, but the link again is in the comments in LinkedIn. So definitely grab it, jump on in. Let's have some fun in the after party. All right. So
Yo, hey Lou, you got that? I think I invited you tonight, didn't I?
somebody's there we go.
Did you, Mark? I think you did. I sent it to you earlier.
See everybody later.
LinkedIn.
Bye, LinkedIn.